There is a position in front of us now that I purposely did not put it in a chapter of the rook endings, because this position, even though it is rook ending, it has nothing instructive as a rook ending. It's just an interesting and very interesting, very instructive position, how you can see the tactical shots in the end games. That's what this position is about. It's white's move in this position, and white is winning. The way to win this position for white is just simply march towards the A pawn with the king and just to win the rook. It's as simple as that. All you need to know about it. But why is it tactical? Let's see now. White goes king e3. Black goes rook a3 check. And this is the critical stage of the game. White can simply go, looks like king d4, because rook takes g3 loses at once after rook c5 check. Doesn't really matter where king goes, and then rook a5. And black can resign. And this is it. So, looks very simple. However, in order to win for white, they must go king d2. White cannot play king d4, since this is going to be a draw. This is very instructive and very interesting. On king d4, black makes a draw by playing g4. And here is the idea of this g4 move. If white plays h takes g, black takes with the king, attacking the g3 pawn. White cannot give up this pawn. On rook g6, king f5. Rook has to move away, king g4. And it's a simple repetition. But if white goes h4 instead, then comes shocking rook takes pawn move. And you see, if white plays rook takes pawn, we have a stalemate position. So this is a stalemate, and that's why white could never go king d4. So all you have to know to win this type of position is to go towards your pawn and stay away from, with your king, stay away from the d4 square. You can go king d2, king c2, and king b2, but do not step on d4 square. That's when black has g4 and rook takes a6, making an easy draw. So the other position that I wanted to show you also looks very simple, very minimal material, and very, very tactical. Here is the position. White, black's king on g3, pawn on h2, bishop on d3. Okay, here is the position. In this position, white to play and make a draw. Now, how can you make a draw with white? If you give a rook for the pawn, that's going to be an easy draw. That's good enough. All white has to do to go rook a1. But after king g2, black is threatening bishop to f1. And once black goes bishop to f1, it's going to be very hard to stop black from queening. So where is a draw there? Here comes the most unusual move and one of the most beautiful moves I've seen maybe in chess ever most unexpected move. So since black tries bishop f1 and h1, most unusual move, the only move that draws, king to h8. Now you're going king to h8, he's going to go bishop f1, and then he's going to queen with the check. How can this be a draw? And after bishop f1, you will see the white's idea. White goes rook to a7, black queens with the check, and white goes rook to h7. And you see that black loses its queen. Queen has only one square to move, and then rook check, taking queen, and it's a draw. It's absolutely beautiful move. Now, if you say the endgame is boring, how about those examples? This is like a most interesting tactics you can see. Again, we go rook a1, and after king g2, king h8, and a bishop f1, rook a7. Threatening rook h7 and take the pawn, and if black goes bishop d3, stopping rook h7, then we go rook to a1 back, position repeats, and it's a draw. There's another position which is extremely interesting and very intriguing position. And here it is. Black goes that way, and we have to win with white. We go rook to a2. Obviously, we don't have enough material to win it. We have rook for a bishop and a pawn. It should be a draw. We have no pawns, but rook a2 looks like it's going to win black's bishop. Black's bishop is attacked. If black goes bishop g1, then rook g2. And if black goes king f1, then king e1. Winning a minor piece in both cases. So black has to play bishop g1, rook g2, king f3, rook takes g1, king f2, white's rook has only one move, and black goes e4. Now, interesting position we get here, where white has an extra rook. Looks like an easy win, but it's a very difficult win. What is black trying to do? To go e3 and e2, and when king moves, then give white a check and win its rook. So white has serious problems. Their rook is stalemated, cannot move, and king cannot move because black has perpetual check. Check on f1, check on e3, and it's perpetual check. So white plays knight e6. Black goes e3, and it looks like white has only two choices. There are to stop the pawn from moving to e2. Looks like it has knight f4 and knight d4 choices. However, it's a false assumption because their both moves lead to a draw. Knight f4 on knight d4, knight f4 on knight d4, they both draw because after e2 check, knight takes e2, we get absolutely amazing position for game of chess. We go knight f1, and this is a draw. White cannot stop the perpetual check. Knight goes anywhere, knight e3 check, knight f1 check, and it's a perpetual check, and it's a draw. That's why stopping the e-pawn for white will do them no good. will not do them any good. So the winning move is knight c5. And now, in the next position we're going to get to, tell me if we have any more beautiful positions in chess in the middle games. Black goes e2 check, king to d2, knight f1 check, And now king c1 winning the game, because after king takes e1, knight d3 is a checkmate. Here you checkmated black with just one bare knight. Well, obviously black cannot take the rook then. So black goes knight to g3. Then we go knight d3 check, king e3 and king c2. Now suppose black didn't go knight g3, but they went knight h2, trying to go to f3. We do the same thing, knight d3 check, king e3 and king c2. Now black goes knight f3, and all we have to do to make a last precise move in this game that is very valuable. Rook has to move, and the only square it can move to in order to win the game is to b1. Any other square on the board will be a draw. Here is why. Rook to a1 is a draw. Knight d4 check, knight b5 check, knight d6 check, and you see king must leave the knight, otherwise it's perpetual. And once king leaves the knight, we take the knight, and after king d2 it's a draw. Well, it's different story if we go rook to b1. Then on knight d4 check we go king to c3, and there is no knight b5 check since rook is on b1, controlling the b5 square. And now after knight f3 and knight e1, white eventually wins the game. This is the tactics in the endgames. Of course, you cannot you cannot learn all the tactics in the endgames, just the way you cannot learn all the tactics in the middle game. Tactics always in the chess, in the game of chess, they will be infinite. There will be no end of them. The more we're going to play chess, the more of the tactical things we're going to explore and see in the end game, in the middle game, and in the openings. So that's why tactics are very important part of end game as well.